All right. Hey guys. It's Spencer here. I'm trying to record a commentary track. I think they call these live watch alongs for YouTube for Harmonquest Season 1 only on VRV. No, it's Season 3. I think Season 1's available not only on VRV, like Amazon Prime or something. Anyway, so what's going to happen is you see that timer up in the corner there. I'm going to hit play, then we're gonna watch this show. Um, I'm gonna watch this show. You'll have to watch it separately. And the clock should hopefully be used to set your pace. I think the timer should be like maybe 1 second behind the runtime if we press all the buttons at the same time. So just keep that in mind. It might be a second off. Hopefully this should work. The sound quality is not going to be that great because I didn't lug my good mic over to the office because I'm recording in the office because it's slightly better room tone. Probably not a lot better. Anyway, maybe we should just get started and not talk for 4 to 5 minutes. So queue up, watch VRV. It might not work the first time. If you're like me, I was testing it. It didn't quite work. I got it to work on Safari, so that's what I'm going to be doing it on now. And I don't know. Probably you don't need to watch me. You could just like minimize the window while you're watching VRV because I'm just going to kind of just be staring kind of like directly below the camera. And that'll be stupid. And I hate myself, and you should too. Me, I mean, not yourselves. Um, but if you do, I cut my beard, so in the show my beard's longer, so it's kind of a two beard experience if you watch both of us. Anyway, let's see if I can make this happen. So I'm gonna hit the space bar. I'm gonna press the start button in 3, 2, 1. Boop. All right, the VRV bumper. This is the recap. I cut these with a guy named Reagan. He was like our assistant editor or something. I don't know. He just wanted to give. You hear that sound? That was like added by the sound FX department. They like to have fun. Uh, sometimes it works. Anyway, yeah, me and Reagan cut these. We cut all the intros. We tried to take a different approach where we put like things that might be relevant. So this whole season is requires the knowledge of some of these events. So we're trying to explain it. So if you didn't listen to the first season or the second, you might be able to follow along anyway. But hopefully, if you have VRV, you might as well just watch the whole thing, right? Anyway, robots, explosion. I don't have to talk this whole time. It might be better if I don't. Click. Man, I hope this works because I don't want to do another take of this whole thing. That robot we designed took a lot of rounds to design, but I really like how it turned out. There he is again. So I think Matt Gorley's the only person who returns this season. Am I wrong? Yeah, I think he's the only repeat. If we get another season, I want to have like a lot of repeat guests because so many of the guests were so great. Why roll the dice on new people? This intro's been basically the same. I don't know who any of these people are. That is actually what the studio audience or the studio looked like in the first season, but not the subsequent seasons. The crowd is hot. We're loving it. I wanted to write intros for Dan this season, but I failed. I couldn't figure it out, so he's just improvising. There's my beard. My beard was as long as my head. Now it's not. I am the creator. I did talk, but they didn't use the mic. It's probably better that way. Man, my teeth are yellow, huh? We should have fixed that in color correction. Notepad, the legal pad gag. Oh boy. He's got. Ah, man, I love this guy. He's a titan of comedy and podcasting. I was really self conscious of how these mic sounds sounded. Like you could hear Dan's clothes rustling a little bit. It doesn't happen so much in the season, but in this first episode, it's kind of hot. These rustles. Ugh, rustle, rustle. This thing is pretty cool. I don't know who put it together, but it's like all the parts are like modular, so we can move them around. Anyway, let's quest. Everyone was screaming. You didn't see anyone screaming. Oh yeah, it's the Puppet King. He's like a puppeted demon, or like a demon's puppet. So Matt, he fell into the demon realm. He eventually found his way out somehow, but it took a toll on him, and he had to pay that price with faith. He started worshiping this the Stone of Forbearance, which is like a rock deity. It's like the Grand Master rock of all rocks. So he's kind of like a born again religious figure. He's statted as a cleric. He used to be statted as a fighter, but now he's a cleric to represent his newfound faith. He's got rock powers. This part, I wanted them to do stuff like this because it was inspired by, Matt's character last season, or first season, when he was just making up all this stuff. It was really funny. Those are like thimbles. That's a great shot. Originally, Dan was just going to be gone, like Fondue was going to be gone. Like he phased out of the sword or the sword broke or something. But the network really liked Fondue, so we tried to work him in more. I'm getting text messages. There's some weird shit this season with encoding. It made it so color correction had to be really specific. I don't know. Who cares? Oh man, I wish I had the maps to show. Maybe next time. This area was mapped out. So these are the Puppet King's puppets. They're called puppet threads. Like the strands or the puppet strings, you know? I wonder what the moons of the three twins are. So sometimes guests get a few secret cues to kind of do plot things for me. And this was one of them, throwing Dan like this. Because we wanted to phase out Fondue as a character. So this was all my plan. I didn't know exactly how it'd play out, obviously, but it's like, Matt, throw Dan. It'll be great. That bonk is so fucking. It's just like bonk. So yeah, you'll notice the colors are a bit different for characters. Like you especially notice Bone Weevil. He's offended. She's being racist. But yeah, they're different colors because of color correction issues this season. It's very complicated and dumb. Anyway, ugh. Sometimes I like the colors and sometimes I don't like them. This was when I was like, this is going to be a good season. That attack technically missed, but we have a damage number because it bonked him in the head. This season, there's actually maps. Everyone's looking at little maps that were made by Bill, the prop guy. See, those are some rock powers. It looks like the Thing, his fist there. One of the designs of the lizard had like a leather jacket, but it was a bit much. Oh, damn. That sound effect. Ugh. So that's why Dan's sword got thrown off the cliff to make room for the new character. So we wouldn't have to play both of them at the same time. It would be weird if he just had two characters all the time. That would be like biased. So I think in the cut or in the performance, Aaron seemed like was playing up to be into Dan, and so we tried to heighten that in the animation. She's so horny. The cartoon character. I don't think the real Aaron was horny. So yeah, Dan's weapon is a chain hook. It's kind of inspired by the spiked chain from D&D. It's a classic exotic weapon. And the reason he uses a chain hook is related to season 2. A line in season 2 that I'll get to later. No spoilers? You should have listened. You should have watched this episode before anyway. That map is actually a map of the continent that we created for a prop. We don't really use it. Sully created it. He did almost all the props and effects this season. Maybe all of them. So this I didn't expect. I was like, we're just gonna throw Dan off a cliff and not worry about it anymore. But they're like, we gotta go get Dan, which I don't know. And I think Dan got the idea that we're supposed to lose his sword, but Jeff especially didn't want to. Internal toilet paper, we obviously remember from last season. So this is me trying to disappear Dan the sword so they move on. You see, I'm trying to railroad. Jeff says toilet paper. He's just playing both characters. It's pretty good. I mean, I guess Dan's good at that. He does that on Harmontown. He plays multiple characters in an improv kind of thing. They're just holding him by the blade. We always thought it was so funny how close to her head he like whips the chain. That basically really happened. They were down there, and then I just was like, we'll probably cut this whole thing out. So I'll just reset, and then we'll have cut it out. But we didn't cut it out. So I'm just forcibly putting them back up the bridge. So in the actual performance, the drawbridge that you see there, it was not extended, but Matt has the magic spell fly, so he just flew over the gap and actuated the drawbridge himself. And so because of that, we're like, let's just cut this all out and have the drawbridge down already because it's such a non-obstacle. I was glad that she did this. Initially, they were supposed to use the puppet to control the goblin to make the goblin actuate the drawbridge, but they didn't do that, obviously, like I described. But this is awesome. I fucking love this. I originally pitched him like the goblin would be like swing his intestines around like it was a cane, like he was doing a weird Michigan J Frog dance, but that didn't make it in. I think the puppet is so well done, though. This whole part is so good. Don't use that. I think they use the dry dust later. But scroll is actually really powerful. I can't remember exactly. I think it was a scroll of telekinesis, but they don't use it. The door's not locked, but they didn't try to just open it. I like this. This is some D&D shit. That's the thing. If you can puppet everyone, then someone you're not puppeting is immediately suspicious. This is Dan still trying to kill off his fondue character. Aaron's so great this season. Excuse me. So the Puppet King has these fires on his strings because the strings go through into another dimension. Because he's like a magic puppet that's being controlled by some more dark, evil entity. It's very mysterious. My voice is all messed up. Jesus Christ. They love that critical hit. Yeah, so like presumably there's like another entity or something that's just like puppeting this guy in another dimension and just having a blast. There's a couple of times this seasons where I tried to mind control people, but most of the time they passed their saves, so it didn't work out. And the Puppet King, that's kind of his whole deal. So if he can't like mind control people, what can he even do? Um, the Puppet King was part of even Goblopolis in general. Was like I wanted Jeff to have more stuff going on. So like there was originally a longer plot about him worrying about the plight of the goblins and trying like we got to go save these goblins. Like that's actually why they came here in the first place is because it's like well Dan's dead, but let's work on our own issues. And he's Jeff's like there's this whole city of goblins that's been enslaved. Like that's an injustice. This might be a hell world, but we're still heroes. Let's do what we can. It kind of got minimized into just this one episode instead of like a whole plot, but that was kind of the inspiration. It's like Erin's got her shit going on, and Jeff is worried about the goblins. And then Dan's new character obviously has his own motivation. There's some serious groans in that laugh. We had to try so many times. We just was like, make that fist bigger, make it bigger. It's not big enough. Um, he's stat as a cleric, but instead of things like Holy Smite, well, I don't know if it's called Holy Smite, but that's supposed to be slow motion. I don't know how well it reads. Anyway, instead of some of his normal cleric attacks, like Searing Light, I had him themed to be rocks, to be more of a rock cleric. So he didn't heal anybody. Well, I think he did in the actual performance, but his heal was Earth Heal, and his inflict wounds, most of them were like Stone Punch or Clay Punch. Yeah, the Puppet King says they said I could rule you, but it's like who told him that? We don't really follow up on that mystery. Jeff likes doing tricks and stunts and stuff, so part of the reason behind Goblin Frey is to give Jeff more things to mess around with. Especially in the absence of the Goblin subplot, I thought it would be good to like give him more toys to mess around with and see how that went. So that's Dan ending his character's subplot, writing them out of the series. It works out better than I expected, better than I planned. Whoa! So yeah, he's Limerick, who was improvised in the Elizabeth Olsen episode as a dead person, and yeah, in that episode when he comes back to life, he's like, "I've used the hooks, sure," and that's kind of what inspired him using these chain hooks. Is like, what kind of weapon could a hook be that he's like using? So it's like a tie-in. I don't know. So yeah, the inspiration of this series or season was like Bjor's worried about her homeland, Boneweevil's worried about his shit going on. So it's like what's been going on while Bjor's been adventuring this whole series. She left in the very first episode her home, and what happened. Things have gone to hell everywhere else. So like, what's going on there? I don't know. Also, the Bone Tree Barbarians are Skull Tree. Anyway, they're it's a pretty interesting concept. It's like something that I thought could be a cool thing to explore. We didn't explore it very well because the needs of the plot, but I wish I could have done that better. But I don't know. It's still cool. I think his new headwear was something else initially. Like someone gave him some weird hat. I can't remember exactly, but that became he had this wolf kind of headdress or whatever. So yeah, there's the audience. They're loving it. Oh yeah, it's the same. What do you call it? Ending track that we've always used. Uh, Dan kind of just improvised it on one of the days in post production, and it worked really well. Well, he improvised the vocals. The song was actually made by Ryan, but the vocals were his inspiration. That is a pretty funny. What a great show. So I guess season two, no, episode two comes out next week. I don't really know. But anyway, I don't really want to edit this, so thanks for watching. I'm just gonna stop the recording so I don't have to like reach for the computer or whatever, and that'll be some weird thing to edit out. So I don't know. Sorry about the sound. It might be better next time. Who knows? I don't know. No promises. I'll try to improve my tech if I do this again. I don't know that I'll do this again. I want to, but maybe it sucks. Anyway, bye.